Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for news stories from Yellow Cat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet, and let's get started. How quickly did you quit your last job and why? Part 2. During the summer between high school and college, I worked at a well-known coffee and donut chain. It wasn't the worst job in the world. I needed extra money during my sophomore year of college and saw that a nearby place was hiring for nights and weekends. I figured I have the experience, so why not? When I applied in person, I was interviewed and hired right away. The quotes are because they basically asked me if I would be okay working part-time and if I was okay with leaving my old job on good terms. They then told me, "Welcome to the team." The next afternoon was my first shift. It was just the manager and me in the store when I got there. He was on the landline talking to someone. He glared at me and pointed to the phone when I tried to talk to him. He saw the note I put in front of him. It said I needed a code to clock in and use the register. He looked very angry, but he told the person on the phone that he'd be right back and put down the phone. It took him 2 minutes to set me up in the register so I could clock in. He then picked up the phone again and continued what was clearly a personal conversation. I thought it was a little strange and unwelcoming, but it's a donut shop, it's 4 o'clock on a weekday afternoon, it won't be busy, I can handle it. After about 10 minutes, some people came in and I took their order. A customer thanked me and said, "Wow, you're so much faster than everyone else here." They then gave me a $5 cash tip. The manager yelled over the phone, "That goes in the tip cup so we can split it later." This is against the law because he's a salaried manager, but I did what he said even though I worked hard to earn the tip. Not many people come in for about an hour, so I restocked and cleaned some things. There's no drive-thru at this location, so customers had to come in person. Around 6 p.m., a group of middle-aged, but not old women wearing expensive clothes and carrying fancy handbags came in and placed an order for a lot of items with all the possible substitutions you can think of. I put their whole order into the register exactly right, and then I made them quickly and correctly. When I went to cash them out, one of the women said, "Young man, it's rude of you not to have given me a senior discount, so poof goes your tip." It was my mistake, and I told her I was sorry. She seemed too young to even think about a senior discount, but I could add it before I swipe her card. She added, "That's fine, but my friends are coming in soon, and they're not going to be as nice as I was, so just put the discount in off the bat." As soon as I said, "Yes, ma'am, I understand," more than 20 women around the same age and in fancy dress started coming into this store. I tried to tell the manager that I would need help right away, but all he did was laugh and point to the phone in his ear. He had been on the phone for 2 hours, which I thought was rude, but we had customers, so I went back to help them. The person ahead of me in line asked me why I thought it was okay to go out back when there was clearly a line. I told her I was trying to get help to help them faster, and she just huffed at me. She told me the regular when I asked what she needed. I told her since it was my first day at work, I didn't know what her order was and would need her to tell me. She gave me her order, and as I worked on it, I asked the next person what they needed so I could do more than one thing at once. I yelled back at the boss, "Help me out here, please." He looked around the corner with his phone still in his ear, then went back to talking. I finished about half of the big group's order, but one of them needed something that wasn't in stock at the front desk, so I had to go back to the cooler. He just said, yeah, it's just them, you got it," when I told him again that I needed help on the floor and to grab whatever it was from the back. I replied, "Okay, I'll get that now." I went to the stock room, took off my stupid visor and apron, and put them on the shelf outside the cooler. Then I left through the back door. It was 6:14 p.m. when I looked at my watch. The next day, I got a call and voicemail from the district manager. She told me that the manager saw that I wasn't in the store at 8:45, even though it didn't close until 9, so I'll be getting a ticket for leaving 15 minutes early without permission. I didn't charge them for the drinks I made for them, and I have no idea who they were or why they were all in that store at the same time. I also wonder if he talked on the phone for another 2.5 hours before he realized I wasn't interested in being there anymore. After a few weeks, I got a check in the mail for $4.75 an hour of work at minimum wage. I never went back to that store. So, 2 hours, 14 minutes, but was paid for 4 hours and 45 minutes. During interview process, everything went smoothly. After receiving a tour, I spoke with 3 interviewers for about 30 minutes. They stated towards the end that they would like to extend a formal offer to me, but when I asked if there were any points I could clarify, they said of course. The first query concerned the schedule. I mentioned that depending on the team you were on, they had it stated it would be a typical 5-day, 38-hour work week, Monday through Friday. I asked them to clarify the last part. I was then told that you might be transferred to a different team and required to put in the same number of hours as them. I asked for an example, to which they answered if you were to move on to a team who works nights, then I would have to work those hours. I knew at this point the interview was not going to end well, but I continued. I asked if it would be my choice to move, how would notice be given, and if the hours are unsociable, would that be reflected in the pay? The answer was no, 1 week and no. F that. I asked my final question, maintaining a neutral expression. I said, you once mentioned yearly pay increases and performance bonuses. Could you please explain how the former works and when was the most recent yearly pay increase? After a brief period of silence, they told me that there had not been an annual pay increase in the previous 2 years and that no performance bonuses had been awarded in the previous 12 months. After that, they attempted to give me a contract to sign. I graciously declined, thanked them for their time, and let them know that I would not be accepting their offer. The worst part is that a contract opened up at the same time about a year later, and my agency put me forward because it was a perfect fit. After a week or so, I was still waiting for word. Upon speaking with my agency, they expressed surprise and promised to investigate the situation further. It turns out that I was barred from ever working at that location in any capacity after I turned down their offer of a permanent position. I wasn't bothered, as a couple of weeks later I had picked up another contract, but man, dodged a bullet with those effers. What was the most insane event that happened to you as a homeowner in an HOA? Part 2. During the time that I was moving in, I was confronted by a member of the board who drove up and yelled at me because the moving van was still in the street. I was able to park it in the driveway, but it protruded into the street by approximately 2 feet. A warning was posted on the moving van the following morning when I woke up. The warning stated that the van should not be parked in the street. Greetings and welcome to the location. Eventually found myself living next door to the most reprehensible person in the neighborhood as well. Additionally, he installed an above-ground pool in the side yard that was located between our 2 houses. These were properties that had 0 lot lines. There's supposed to be a 3-foot space along the side of the house for access, but his pool went from his wall to my wall, making it impossible to walk between the 2 properties. After that, whenever they went swimming, the walls of the pool would bend and hit my house whenever they did so. Despite the fact that I sent the HOA a number of letters, they did not take any action. Short time after the incident at the pool, we moved out. I have no intention of ever living in another HOA. Specifically for my wife's garden, I constructed some very nice planters. After 3 years, the HOA informed me that the planters had broken a rule that was established by the HOA. I told them that because they had not been able to access it 3 years ago, they had automatically approved of them. They allowed it to fall. Other things that our HOA did included not allowing us to grill on the front porch, not allowing us to park in the street for more than 3 days per month, not allowing us to mow our own lawn, not allowing us to install the city-mandated fire break behind our house on property that they owned, forcing us to pressure wash a fence that no one could see without entering our backyard, and checking my gutters to ensure that I was cleaning them. This is just a small sample of the HOA experience that we have as a whole. The fact that they would not repair broken street lamps or damage to the roads unless it was occurring in front of a home belonging to an HOA member is the most interesting aspect of the situation. To put that into perspective, we paid more than $2,000 annually for the privilege of them employing a company to perform a terrible job of landscaping and to pave the road every other year. These individuals are, without a doubt, the worst kind of people available. The entirety of their sense of self-worth appears to be entwined with the lives of other people. The state of Florida is rife with them. Because you live in a region that's close to a large number of military installations, you're exposed to a large number of troops who are deployed. HOAs are nothing but a terrible thing. Despite the fact that they are unannounced and unwelcome, they sneak around documenting the most ridiculous of conditions. There was a very slight ding in the bottom aluminum panel to the screen door that I had installed on my lanai, reference 2. As a result of the drought and the subsequent restrictions on watering, residents of the next subdivision were forced to literally spray paint their lawns green in order to prevent brown or yellow stains from appearing on their lawns. There are situations in which these citations accumulate to the point where they can actually place a lien against your home. At this location, there have been more than a few instances in which a soldier who's been deployed to the United States returns home to discover that their property is either in a state of default or is subject to a fine levy that they are unable to pay. Flags, outdoor barbecues, holiday ornaments, and everything else might be subject to restrictions. There are some that are more severe than others, but there are times when it all depends on the council of angry Karens that you get. When the community went to a 0% rental policy, we were renting a townhome. This resulted in a significant number of renters being evicted, and approximately 15% of the homes in the neighborhood were put up for sale as soon as the renters were evicted. As a result of the fact that they were unable to afford both mortgages anymore, people who had been renting for years began to undercut everyone else in an effort to sell their homes as quickly as possible. During this time, we were required to procure new rental funds within a period of 2 months. In the end, we decided to rent a room with our friends and move back in with our parents for a period of 6 months in order to successfully save up enough money to purchase the place that we're currently residing in currently. We're currently in the process of looking for a home, and the most important requirement was that there be no homeowners association. Currently living with HOA breathing down our necks about everything. These are some fun ones. There's grass in the cracks in the driveway. Since it hasn't stopped raining for a while, the grass is growing like weeds. You can bet that we also got a letter about that. It's not okay to park 2 cars in the driveway because they block the sidewalk. People park their cars in our front yard grass because our neighborhood's so small. I wonder if they get mail. Because of a strike, trash can pickup was late, so we got a notice that our trash wasn't taken in on time. You should know that I have no idea when this strike will end, and the garbage men won't be coming to my door saying, "Hey, we got paid more, can we take your trash now?" It's 3 feet wide around the lake behind our house, but we keep getting letters saying that the grass or trees are in the way. Everyone in our neighborhood had to make their own private discussion page on the app next door because everyone else is sick of hearing the same HOA complaints over and over again. Good old time here. A condo was my home for 4 years before I decided to sell it and buy a house in July of this year. In the first year that we lived there, the HOA issued a fine to us because we had no lid on the trash cans. I went outside, took a picture of my trash cans with the lids on, and sent it to the HOA. They responded by saying, "Sorry, our mistake." A couple of months later, the same thing happened again. After a few months had passed, we were issued a fine because our trash barrels were blown away by the wind. The wind had taken them away after they'd been emptied, and I had brought them into the garage when I returned home from work. All of us in the complex filed an appeal after they sent a fine to each and every one of us. After that, my neighbors and I showed up at the meeting and decided to find out what the H was going on and why the board was behaving this way. After shouting, arguments, and hysterics on the part of this very board, we voted for their expulsion and elected a new board. After all, it turned out they wrote a lot of unreasonable fines and misappropriated the money. We even got a lawyer to make it official. It was a very epic show. The new board of directors does not allow themselves such a thing, and we, with the neighbors, are trying to follow more of the affairs of the HOA that the situation is not repeated. And bonuses, those fines that they wrote and appropriated to those old people had to return under threat of legal proceedings. If you want to watch the part 1, click the link here. Very, very glad to see you all in the comments again. And many thanks for your support.